Neymar nonsense as Bartomeu adds some fuel to the forever burning fire. Higuain is kind of like the house guest that just doesn't get the hint the party's over at 9. Refuses to leave Juve. He's kind of smart. Oh, hey, look. This again. More Neymar and Griezmann stuff as if I needed a hole in the head. It's coming up now on Post to Post.
Is that the transfer?
Usually we have a lot more going on.
The transfer
when
workout?
Yeah. Thank you. Like, see, normally we have more going on when I do that, so I'm not just the idiot that's doing like this with the whale in the beginning.
Can I just say, I'm thankful for AFCON, because if all I had to talk about right now was just the transfer gossip, I would take a long walk off a short pier.
Yeah, this is terrible.
And with that said, let's talk about some transfer nonsense.
Yeah, why not? Like, all right, guys, let's do it. This is Willie the transfer whale. I just named him that. Well, you guys have seen Willie before. There's no need to reintroduce Willie.
Are orcas real whales though? Or like I thought they were like.
They're like huge dolphins.
Yeah, they're dolphins.
They're porpoises. Whatever. Daily news. All right. So Dre's favorite person in the whole world. Oh, by the way, I'm the much in need of a haircut Mike Fuentes. This is Dre Cordero. I didn't introduce us. We got way too worked up about orcas and whales. So speaking of whales, hey, Neymar would be a whale if you do some NBA lingo and football lingo together.
I have no idea what that means, but
Dre,
he's still in the...
it's a Tuesday, man. Like, we're supposed to... Anyway, Bartomeu comes out and says that there's been no change in the Neymar situation at all, that things are basically the same, even though earlier today we had reports that PSG was open to talking Neymar transfer. Dre, with all that being said, I mean, how do you get your steak cooked?
Medium rare.
There is no other way.
Yeah, why get a steak if it's going to be
but this story's well done to me.
I saw that was a long way to go for that.
I know. I took like the full circle joke to get back to that one.
It looks like they have a deal in place, Barca and Neymar. It also looks like they have a deal in place, Coutinho and PSG.
But according to his dad, he said
there's
there's
a deal
been
with each
no
other.
talk. Yeah.
His dad said there's been no talk with Barcelona.
Yeah.
I find that hard.
He's lying. Yeah, he's lying. There's
a lot of people who you can believe when it comes to this stuff. I'm not sure.
Probably not the guy's dad. Yeah, exactly.
Is one of them. The question is, would Dembele have to be included in that deal? Would Barca need some money back from PSG as well as Coutinho?
Yeah.
What's clear is that PSG have been sort of almost starting to lowball themselves, right? Because they started at, he's irreplaceable, we won't sell him. Then 300 million would do it. Then, if we can recoup the 222 million, now it seems to be, well, if a reasonable offer comes across, and this isn't sentimental, it's just without Barcelona negotiating, PSG seemed to be sort of bringing the price down some. But if they've already agreed to terms, if we believe the report, and I never believe any of the reports until somebody's holding up a shirt, and even then I'm doubtful, then it looks like both teams want those two players, and that would take two of these significant hurdles out of the way, which is how you pay them once you pay that transfer.
Yeah, there's so many layers to it, and it's the same. Once it's basically known the player does not want to return, like we even talked about Neymar getting the Rabiot treatment a little bit, they're going to just send him off to nowhere land.
You can't do that with Neymar.
Yeah,
you can do that with Rabiot.
Exactly. You can't do it with Neymar. You can't send him off to the colonies. That's a Handmaid's Tale reference, by the way. And you can't just send him off. But once a player is known he doesn't want to stay, I feel like a club's bargaining potential is just way down.
I mean, all you need to look at is Neymar's move the other way, right? To Paris Saint-Germain, where, sure, they got a record 222 million for him. But once, everybody knows that Barcelona had that money to spend, there was no way that they were going to get any budget by. So they overspent for Dembele, they overspent for Coutinho. If you know that you either have the money to spend and have to spend it, or the player wants out, so you have to sell him, you've ruined a lot of your leverage.
Yeah, and it's the same situation going on now with Pogba as well, since basically it's kind of been hinted, hey, I don't want to stay at United. What chips does Man United have?
By the way, a lot has been made of Jose Bartomeu, the Barcelona president, today, saying there's been no change from Friday. I think that's been taken a little bit out of context. The context matters here because basically they were presenting Neto, the goalkeeper they're bringing in, they say to compete with Marc-Andre Ter Stegen, to back up Marc-Andre Ter Stegen.
Exactly,
And it was during that presentation that Bartomeu was asked about Neymar and any new developments, because Leonardo said this morning that it's not sentimental, that a fair offer would get the job done. Bartomeu seemed to swing that out, saying, we're here to present Neto, nothing changed from Friday. It doesn't mean nothing has changed from Friday. It means I'm not going to talk about it right now.
No, exactly. He pretty much said, hey, this is how it is, and because probably you get the same questions over and over again, just like how we get the same conversation here all the time.
Leonardo also said something along the lines of there haven't been any offers, but there have been superficial contacts with Barcelona. So it looks like that's another step toward that deal actually getting done.
Frank Leon says Dembele is a much better option to invest in than give up so much for Neymar. Players plus cash.
It depends on if you're thinking about 3 years from now or if you're thinking about Barcelona being obsessed with winning the Champions League right away. Right?
Yeah,
so they got to the semifinals last year. Their best players are all 30 or above. The only one that was not was Jordi Alba. He's now, I believe, 30. So how much more are you going to get out of Messi in the coming years? How much more are you going to get out of guys like Sergio Busquets? Is Rakitic going to stick around? So, there's a lot of mileage on Barcelona's most important legs. And if they want to win now, Neymar probably makes a ton more sense than Dembele.
That's true. They could be in kind of like a win now mode because how many years would you give Luis Suarez on the back end of this? Maybe 3?
Right.
3. Messi not,
who knows?
Well, not old, definitely getting older. Even Neymar getting older. And then I feel like teams like Barca are always in win now mode. So, but it's true.
But even more desperate for Barcelona because they have been winning La Liga, right? So they just blew both Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid out of the water, and seemingly that wasn't enough for the fan base because they are, and this is dangerous, by the way. I don't advocate for any club to do this. It hasn't worked for PSG. It's not going to be a good look for Barcelona. If you make it all about winning the Champions League or bust, you are setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, because that can dwindle down to one game. Yeah. And then what? And then which we saw basically PSG and Barca as they crashed out of the Champions League to Liverpool. But from centering the conversation on one Brazilian to another, you guys remember Eder Militao? He signed like $1 billion years ago, it feels like, for Real Madrid. Well, he's going to be presented tomorrow. They got him for about 56 million US. The only reason we even bring it up is because we need something to break up the Neymar talk in between now and then.
I think it's interesting. I was hoping to see
I like
more
him. I like him. Yeah.
Good young center back, 21 years old, only played one full season as a starter, by the way, 29 starts for Benfica in the Portuguese Liga, shows plenty of promise, was actually named to the Brazil squad that just won the Copa America in Brazil for the first time in over a decade. And I'm a little disappointed because I was expecting to see some more of Eder Militao, admittedly not having watched a ton of the Portuguese Liga last season or much of his Sao Paulo days the 2 seasons before that. I was eager to see what the youngster would do with the Brazilian national team with some ridiculous talent around him. We got exactly 14 minutes out of it. It was in the final against Peru when Brazil were down to 10 men, and I believe the game was already out of reach. I don't remember when that third goal was scored.
It was kind of towards extra time.
Basically, we did not get enough of Eder Militao at the Copa America to draw any conclusions.
I mean, same thing. Got an urging Sergio Ramos, aging Sergio Ramos. Those guys, I don't know how much you'll see. Christ Bonilla wants to know why Madrid want to keep James. Of course, we have Colombians in the room, so we have to bring that question up.
It looks like James could be on his way to Napoli, which I think would be cool to see him play for.
But why don't Real Madrid want him?
That's a good question.
How does he don't want me, man?
It seemed to be, maybe it feels like 7 managers ago that it was James or Isco, right? And even though they kept Isco over James, Isco still sort of had to kind of reprove himself every time a new manager took over. Yeah. I don't know that you can necessarily coexist with both of them if you want to keep the midfield that you have and still add the. So James would make sense, just to their point, why they might be scratching their head. You look at how James plays for Colombia, essentially as a right winger who tucks inside. It's not a completely free role. He doesn't pop up on the left quite that much, and it looks like he would be a really good complement to Eden Hazard on the opposite side. So you could see a scenario where Benzema, Hazard, and James would be a really dangerous front three.
Yeah. How much do you think that, last year, well, I don't know if it was last year, but 2 years ago, Zidane basically was like, to James' idea. I think maybe how much does that have to play now?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's just perception, but the narrative around James seemed to be that he didn't do enough of the work off the ball, right? Like the defensive stuff. And now, initially, this is not just perception, but initially, that's why Isco seemed to have beaten him out for that starting role when initially it was either Isco or James. But then you saw a version of James at the Copa America that was doing that work off the ball, that was leading by example, winning it back. And if you can get that James all the time, he's one of the elite players on the planet, and I don't see why Real Madrid wouldn't want him.
He's kind of like the anti-Messi. Whenever he puts on that Colombia shirt, he looks great. Yeah, I like that, right? Neymar to the Lakers, says Gabriel Cabrera. Little cheeky there.
Neymar to the Lakers?
Yeah, Lakers got no more cap space, so that's a wrap too. Higuain we'll get to later.
Hang on, the one thing about...
Does Valverde even have a system?
The one thing about, it's pragmatism. Whatever shape pragmatism is.
Whatever you guys want to do, just get out there, have a blast.
The one thing about Eder Militao is we didn't see him a ton at the Copa America. I wonder if we're going to see him a ton at Real Madrid.
Yeah,
I was going to be loaned out.
I was thinking that too.
Obviously, Varane and Sergio Ramos decided to stick around. Those are probably the 2 starters. There's a question as to how much Zidane would even play the young kids, because certainly young Real Madrid players got plenty of minutes last season, but most of that wasn't under Zizou. It wasn't the 2 managers before him. He had 3 different coaches last year. And so you've got backing up Varane and Ramos. There's Nacho, who can play all 4 positions across the back. Jesus Vallejo, who finally started to break through a little bit with them last year. where does that leave Eder Militao? Granted, 50 million might sound like a lot, but not necessarily for Real Madrid.
Yeah, and also, I mean, he is pretty versatile. I know he can play defensive midfielder. He's like moonlights as a right back too. So maybe it's good just to have an extra bit of depth, especially the multiple competitions they're going to be in this year. But
that's a lot of depth. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5.
It never hurts, baby. It never hurts to have some depth. We're going to get an Uber right now, go across town to Atletico Madrid, where Felipe Luis's contract is up. They've had this dance before, where usually you see these players, they either get renewed or they get moved before the end of their contract, but he's actually having expiring contract now, but we expect him to re-up with Atletico Madrid.
At 33 years old, you don't always get that move before your contract expires.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's if you want to explore your options, go ahead.
Yeah.
And especially coming off a season in which Felipe Luis was with Atletico Madrid, but they seem to be playing. Granted, he was injured for a bit of that, but they seem to be playing so many different players out of position at left back, right? So Niguez played at left back. Montero, who's a center back from the Atletico B team, was moved into the first team. He played left back. Juanfran, who's their regular right back after Santiago Arias took his job on the right, moved over to left back and did a serviceable job. And they've just signed recently Renan Lodi from Atletico Paranaense, who's a very promising Brazilian left back. So maybe Felipe Luis wasn't going to be the starter. We know that he has a really good sort of rapport with the team. We know that he feels good there. But the one rumor, and this is pure, wild, irresponsible speculation, that seems
something you're clearly known for.
Seems to continue to surface when it comes to Felipe Luis is Barcelona.
Yeah,
and you look at Barca, who really have no backup for Jordi Alba. Alba has to play virtually every game. Felipe Luis is the player that Barcelona targeted initially when he was at Deportivo La Coruña. He shunned Barcelona to instead sign at Atletico Madrid. Maybe now with 33, if he's willing to accept a backup role at Barca.
Yeah, I mean that's twilight years already.
But he still has the quality to play in that position, and it wouldn't be to start every game. It would be to spell Jordi Alba, who would obviously start more games.
Since we're talking about defensive backs, how come Dani Alves has no team? He was arguably one of the best players in Copa America, 36 years old. He's going to land somewhere.
After that performance, he's the best player.
Yeah. I mean, just waiting for Inter Miami to roll around. Maybe.
Although, let's be honest, he should have been sent off twice against Argentina.
He should have, but either way, still one of the best players in the tournament. And another South American who's getting up there in age, Higuain.
Before we go into Higuain, Luis Flores, Neymar to Madrid. I was convinced
that was going to happen.
The moment that he left Barcelona, I said, 2 years from now, he's going to land in Real Madrid, right? Because he seems like that kind of guy who wants to, before it's all said and done, play for all the big clubs. Sort of collect those shirts. We've seen a lot of the top Brazilian players. I mean, Ronaldo obviously comes to mind, but a lot of the top Brazilian players will go around to all these biggest teams because of the history that they have. So I never saw Neymar as like a Barcelona loyalist, and the way that he left Barcelona kind of proves that. The fact that they want him back means who knows.
It's just so many levels to Neymar.
I thought
marketing
there was no way that you'd have a better chance of going back to Barca after the way he left than going straight to Madrid. So I'm surprised Madrid never made a bigger push to sign
for that extra hate sauce. Like if they didn't like you on the way out, they're really not gonna like you when you come back wearing that. But another former Real Madrid guy, Higuain, he's going back to Juve. All loans are over. He's going to play with a coach named Sarri, and he basically told Juve, hey, guess what? I moved back in, and I'm not leaving, Mom. I'm here till it's over. So he's gonna
move back
stay.
Into the attic.
Yeah, exactly. No, he's in the basement.
Took all his old stuff out of there.
No, he's got the basketball shorts on, the bag of Cheetos, the PlayStation on. He's not leaving. He said he's gonna see out his contract, and that is it. Right. They got a lot of depth, but Saudi has gotten the most out of him. They obviously like each other. Yeah. There isn't and it's a good thing to have the head coach on your side if you're gonna have anybody there on your side.
He's still only 31, by the way, which I know he has the body of a 4-year-old, Gonzalo Higuain. But
4-year-old or 40-year-old?
40.
I feel he's fluffy. Yeah, he's a little fluffy
but he's just 31 years old. The reports that he's working with a personal trainer to get in shape so he can prove the doubters wrong.
Midlife crisis.
By the way, that's a report
that
we hear about Gonzalo Higuain every single summer. Every summer.
Until the donut truck rolls up.
That's terrible. Disrespect.
Disrespect. Listen, I'm on Team Higuain. I think he gets massively disrespected all the time.
Especially from Mauricio Sarri. Sarri, I mean, you alluded to it, but Sarri is a guy who, when he went from Empoli to Napoli, he tried to take half his Empoli team with him. Some of the guys he couldn't draw, like Rugani. Rugani eventually ended up there. Then when he got to Chelsea, he tried to do the same. He did take Jorginho. He ended up with Gonzalo Higuain. He's a guy who, once he convinces his players that he wants to play a certain way, they don't rotate a ton. He'll drive those guys to the ground, which is sort of like the plus and negative of Sarri, because if you're competing on several competitions, by the end of the season, your legs are done.
Yeah, wait. So is Sarri the Tom Thibodeau of world soccer? He just drives these guys into the ground? 48 minutes a game, 90 minutes a game. Go. See, Alves going to Miami, I bet.
Hey, I don't doubt it.
Hey, take 6 months off, live in Miami, end up playing.
Falcao
ball.
Miami.
Dude, okay. Alves would be the best winger in MLS right now, right? At 36 years old, he's playing for Miami.
Sure.
He gets to stay here, make a reggaeton video. J Balvin comes into town.
Someone mentioned Alves to Inter, Alexander Jason. That makes sense.
Alves to Inter, Inter Miami.
Oh, no, I figured
No,
Inter Milan.
he probably means Inter Milan, but yeah,
yeah.
Inter Miami. River Plate, Copa America, MLS. I don't. Why not? Why not? It makes sense.
After
Football.
that Copa America, come on. Go on.
Why wouldn't he though?
Well, he just won his 40th title.
He's won everything. Yeah, he don't do anything.
40 titles, so that's insane.
I know. I can't even imagine that. I mean, after a while, like when you're moving out of the house, you're just like, oh, I dropped one of the Serie A ones.
I mean, like one whole truck. Just
yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
You know, they don't get to actually have all of those at home, though, right?
No, but they get something. They get a medal or something.
Sure.
What do they do with them?
I
don't want to know.
Danny Alves has like the original Barcelona Champions League trophy.
Maybe he does. Well, no, not the whole thing, but he has the medal. I mean, what do you do with him? Higuain needs to work out with CR7.
Why not?
I don't think he'd be able to keep up, to be honest.
Assuming they don't kill each other.
Higuain to Boca, River Plate, Club America, MLS. Higuain is to the couch at the Juve training facility. He is not going
I'm
anywhere.
not convinced, especially if Mandzukic ends up leaving to like Borussia Dortmund.
Oh, no, I think he'll play. Why wouldn't he play?
Sure.
Yeah, and Mandzukic back to Germany, or that's where he started, right? He's playing for one of the teams
He was
in
at
green.
Bayern Munich before.
Yeah. No, but he played for Wolfsburg or something too, right?
Sure.
Or Bremen. One of those teams that were green. There's like 50 teams in Germany that were green. He's going to play for one of those. But guys, it's Crisis Corner time with your favorite topic, Griezmann and Neymar.
Again?
People yawning in the back over here. I totally understand why. So here we go. There's a Twitter poll that we asked. If you could only have Griezmann or Neymar, which one would you prefer?
Neymar.
Neymar?
Yeah, Neymar is one of those. He's a really unique player, and Griezmann is a terrific footballer. Certainly an elite player. One that needed a lot of love because in 5 seasons at Atletico Madrid, they had to re-up his contract 5 times. So every season he got a new deal. I'm not saying Neymar would be any different, but I think with Neymar you get a lot more return for your investment. He's one of the best playmakers and one of the best goal scorers on the planet. He's one of those few players that can pick the ball up at midfield, take on 2 or 3, play the 1-2 or finish it himself. Has already the rapport with Messi and Suarez from the MSN days. They won a treble together. So if you had to pick between the two, I mean, assuming you're not a Barcelona fan, I think Barcelona fans might choose Griezmann just because it's something new and they don't love the way that Neymar left. But just from a purely football standpoint,
I mean, Neymar. There's no doubt that when Neymar's right, he's like top 5 player in the world. When he's right, like healthy, playing right state of mind.
That's probably conservative.
But at the same, it's just so hard to argue with like top class players, right? Because you think, oh, Griezmann would be a nice piece. No, Neymar is the piece. There's no other pieces required. You know what I mean? So it's just like a hard. Cause I do like Griezmann. I think he's great, and I would love to see him play in a team where he's not just like standing over there waiting defensively for him to come up and score. Because I think in a system like Barcelona's where he gets to be really dynamic and actually show his full skill, he'd be fun to watch.
Is this Griezmann?
Yeah. No, Neymar, we already know Neymar is good.
The only thing with Griezmann for me is he's always looked best when he had a center forward to play
That's
off
true.
of. Right?
Well, but you have Suarez.
So he has Suarez, but then does that mean that he and Messi are sort of butting heads in the middle, playing behind?
Yeah. Well, but then that's the thing. I don't know. I just feel like he'd be like better than Dembele's role.
If they end up getting all of them, it's like Harlem Globetrotters type
stuff.
Right?
100%.
You could have Griezmann on the left, even though, again, I think he'll cheat a lot to the inside. Jordi Alba would come outside on the flank outside of him. You could have Messi as your number 10, Suarez as your number 9, and then Griezmann on the right, Neymar on the left. I don't know how that fits.
No, I mean, look.
You've got 4 guys who aren't going to drop back to defend. You have a team that's completely out of balance. And you have a manager, Ernesto Valverde, who might not play them and might still be starting Coutinho in the 6th round.
And they're still going to win every game by 5. Okay, this is the thing.
Except the one that matters.
Look,
that's the thing. I think they can dominate, and on their good days, they'll ball against everybody. But on an off day, when you don't have that chemistry clicking, and you have 4 guys who are not luxury players, but guys who aren't known for the defensive effort necessarily, although to be fair, Griezmann learned that playing under Simeone.
You're not playing.
Then I don't know how that's going to work other than maybe in FIFA.
Yeah, see, Rafa brings up this. Neymar gets hurt too much, but you can't. Yes, you can't. That's true, but you can't buy a player thinking about the injuries. You know, because then you're looking ahead to something that might not happen. Sure, it may happen, but you can't sign players based on that. You know what he's worth.
But when they have an injury history, you can't take that into account.
No, of course. But I think that comes to an account in terms of the buying price.
Yeah, he's also been really like snake bitten, right? Because when it's not, and some of it by his own doing, when he's not suspended before a Copa America or he's injured at the World Cup against Colombia in 2014, he misses this Copa America, Brazil win it without him. That's not a good look for Neymar. I think there's something.
That Brazil team was clearly the best team in the tournament, even with him.
I think there's something to the idea. Maybe Neymar's made of glass, and it's an investment that could be trouble. But just from a purely footballing standpoint, there's few like him.
I don't know about this. Brendan Fuego says a healthy Bale is better than Griezmann any day.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know if I'm on that train. I'll entertain the argument.
Different position.
Yeah, you'd have to sell me on that.
But yeah, I'm willing to hear you out.
But I mean, if you give me like numbers with it, or
also if we're talking about like players made of glass, like
Griezmann
is made of butterfly wings.
Bale
is made of butterfly wings.
Yeah, butterfly wings glued together with like kitchen grease, like that's because you can't. Yeah, see, all Alves needs is MLS Cup, and he has it all. That's my man, you know. And
A U.S. Open Cup to add to that.
there you
trophy
go,
cabinet.
baby. That's right. That right there at 11, right there by the beach. We're partying up. Oh, he'd be there in a second. They'd have a table. Your usual table, Mr. Alves.
Inter Miami's not gonna have any trouble.
Why are you rolling your eyes, man?
Attracting
You
top
mentioned
talent.
11. You know, I mean, it's a party, baby. It's Miami.
It's like 2 people know what you're talking about right now.
I don't know.
The 2 that visited Miami last summer.
I'm sure there's some music video,
Sure.
or whatever. Okay, so I think we're pretty much done here, Dre. But we have AFCON games tomorrow.
Yes.
We have I think one of them is Benin.
Senegal, Benin.
Senegal, Benin, or Benin? Am I pronouncing that wrong?
Benin, I think.
Benin, right? I think I feel like Benin. Okay, Senegal, Benin. Benin, the surprise of the tournament. They have not actually won a game all tournament, though. They're going for Portugal all the way to the final, just beating people in penalties. And Senegal, Sadio Mane, of course, is actually tied, I think, for the most goals in the tournament right now with 3. Okay. So if he ends up winning that tournament with Senegal, he might be a golden ball candidate.
Because he won the Champions
And
League.
then you have Nigeria, South Africa. I think it's the second game. Nigeria, South Africa. South Africa also shocking Egypt, sending Mo Salah home. I'm pretty sure that ends his golden ball.
By the way, they're not playing tomorrow, but shout out to Madagascar.
Oh,
they
right.
are. But shout out to Madagascar because they're playing their first ever AFCON. They're one of 3 debutants this year.
Yeah.
And not only did they go through, they went through in style.
Yep.
And are already deep into this
Ranked,
Africa Cup.
I saw this today, ranked 107th in the world.
Yeah.
And in the top 8 in Africa.
They're playing Tunisia, so it looks
And
good for them.
and Tunisia. Oh, you think so?
Tunisia got through on penalties, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. They got through on penalties versus Ghana. Versus Ghana. There you go. And we have Copa Sudamericana tonight. Dre, I think you know somebody who's hosting that game, so maybe Dre's hosting Copa Sudamericana tonight.
I tuned you out
The
completely,
joke.
man.
Whoa, right over. So in about 2.5 hours, you get to hear the disembodied voice of Dre Cordero as he hosts Copa
Royal Paris
and El Equidad
Colombia.
and Colombia. And that's basically it, guys. So remember, tomorrow, also post to post, Willie's going to come fly on your camera to say goodbye, as he always does. Bye, guys. Here you go. Maria, let me know.
Is that
now?
trademark?
Perfect.
Are we talking to you?